Am I the antagonist for making my classmate cry? I am a 17-year-old girl in a seminar class in high school. There is a 16-year-old guy in my class who I believe has or had feelings for me. He stares at me, joins my conversations with friends without being invited, and asks for my number or to hang out. Initially, I wasn't bothered by this because I assumed he was just an awkward teenager. However, he has started crossing certain boundaries recently, such as interrupting my conversations and physically grabbing my shoulder to make me face him. I understand that some people may be socially unaware and think that the other person is not ignoring them, but rather not hearing them. I myself have autism spectrum disorder, ASD, and sometimes get confused, but I never touch or grab people. I don't believe he has ASD, though I can't be certain. One day, about 2 weeks ago, he followed me after class and struck up a conversation. After a few minutes, I tried to end it by letting him know that I had to walk home. Despite my polite refusal, he insisted on walking with me and continuing the conversation. Feeling uncomfortable, I didn't actually walk to my house, but instead went to a random house, and he left when we reached the doorstep. That incident made me dislike him because it was not just that he didn't understand the hint, but I explicitly said no multiple times, and he ignored it. Then on Wednesday, we were paired up for a partner discussion in class. At one point while he was talking, I needed to use the bathroom. I interrupted him to let him know, apologized for interrupting, and turned to leave. However, he grabbed my arm and told me to come back, saying that I could have at least waited for him to finish talking. At that point, I had had enough. I confronted him loudly, telling him that I didn't even like him, found him annoying, and wanted him to stop talking. My classmates, being typical high schoolers, laughed at the situation and tried to instigate a fight. The guy then started crying, but it seemed more like angry or embarrassed tears than genuine sadness. As a result of causing a disruption, I was sent to the administration. Later, my friends teased me, claiming I had been too harsh. Despite feeling slightly guilty about him crying, I believe my reaction was justified. So am I the asshole? Am I the antagonist? It is clear that the guy in your class has been consistently overstepping your boundaries and ignoring your explicit no's. You tried to give him hints and politely decline his advances, but he disregarded your feelings and continued to push himself on you. The incident in which he grabbed your arm and scolded you for interrupting him was the breaking point. While it may have been harsh to express your frustrations loudly in front of the class, it was a necessary action to assert your boundaries and make it clear that his behavior was unacceptable. Your classmates laughing and trying to provoke a fight further demonstrates their immaturity. It is important to stand up for yourself when someone consistently oversteps your boundaries and makes you uncomfortable. Don't let anyone make you feel guilty for setting limits and expressing your emotions in a situation like this. Am I the antagonist for not giving a fuck about what happens to my roommate? I, 20-year-old female, live in a dorm with my roommate, 18-year-old female. I took a couple of gap years to save up for school before coming here, and now it's mandatory for me to live in a dorm for at least 1 year. My roommate and I didn't talk much before moving in together, but she seemed normal and we got along well. Initially things were okay, just a bit awkward. Then she started getting comfortable. I had seen a photo of her girlfriend on her desk, so I knew what she looked like. One day I came home and found them in bed together, but I didn't say anything because I was in a hurry and shocked that I hadn't been informed about it. When I returned a few hours later, there was an awkward moment when they were both rushing to leave. So I politely asked if her girlfriend was there and introduced myself. However, my roommate panicked and said that it was actually just one of her new friends. They both left and I was taken aback. Later I sat down to do homework, but my roommate has a habit of leaving the windows open. I heard something outside, and it turned out to be them hugging and being overly touchy. I closed the window and didn't mention it when she came back because it made me very uncomfortable. Recently I went home to visit my family as I live far away from school. I informed my roommate that I might stay there for the night. When I returned to school, she was angry with me, accusing me of being disrespectful for not letting her know and claiming that I have bad communication. While I admit I can be a little messy when school gets busy, I have always been communicative and respectful towards her. I ask if she needs anything, give her medicine when she's sick, and share my food even when she doesn't reciprocate. I was shocked at her reaction, but then I realized she wanted to know if I was coming back so she could have her new friend over. I haven't brought up the situation because she never confirmed anything, and I don't want to make assumptions. However, I did explain that being roommates doesn't mean I have to give her a play-by-play of my whereabouts. We're both adults capable of making our own decisions, and the only person who has the right to track me is my own mom. I told her I don't care about her whereabouts or what she does and expect the same respect. After all, I've kept her cheating secret despite feeling incredibly uncomfortable in my own room. Am I the asshole? Your roommate lied about her guest being her girlfriend, and then got upset when you didn't inform her about your plans. It seems like she has been disrespectful towards you by bringing her friend over without informing you in advance. It is also reasonable for you to not want to share your every move with your roommate. However, it may be worth addressing the issue of her bringing guests over and having a transparent discussion to establish boundaries that both of you can agree on. Am I the antagonist for selling one of my best friend's Taylor Swift tickets after an argument? I don't usually do this, but all my friends are either not speaking to me or really angry with me, but I think I'm in the right. For context to this story, I, 19-year-old female, bought the tickets to the Liverpool June 13th Taylor Swift concert for myself and 2 of my friends. They both sent me the money, and it was all set. We were all planning our outfits together, with each of us wanting to go as our favorite era. My friend, 20-year-old female, introduced me to Taylor, as while I heard her on the radio, I was never a huge fan. But when 1989 came out, she recommended songs she thought I would like. And I did like them. She was always the Taylor Swift superfan, but I like Blondie too. Ever since leaving high school, though, we've been drifting apart. We met up recently to hang out and do some shopping. We were catching up at lunch, but I started to feel like she wasn't really listening to me and only talked about herself. She's always been like that. She's only engaged in a conversation if it's about her or her interests. So another important thing about me is that I've always been insecure about my weight. My friend knows this. While we were shopping for clothes, I picked out a really pretty dress and said I liked it. She just kind of stared at me and said it wouldn't look good on me. I couldn't really picture myself in it, so I went and looked around the rest of the shop. I didn't buy anything, but my friend decided to buy something. That same dress. It really annoyed me. She's always been thinner than me and made a point to talk about people complimenting her on her amazing body. We had been in a couple of shops by this point and she wanted to go home, but I hadn't found anything. I was looking for a dress to wear out clubbing. We went into another shop and I found something, but again she said it didn't look right when she saw me try it on. At this point, I was sick of her saying this stuff, so I asked what she meant. She said it just didn't look right. I asked her again. She said it made my legs look weird. How? I asked. She replied, it just doesn't fit you. I can see all your rolls. God! I was really hurt. That was the exact reason I hate wearing anything tight. I just shouted, well, it wouldn't look good on you either, mate. I left the shop and went home. I had a coworker who really wanted to see Taylor as well, so I asked her to send me the money, and the ticket would be hers. She's never been that quick, not even at work. I sent my friend the money back and then before I could even text her, she called me. She was asking me why I had done that, and I told her I wouldn't go to the concert with her and I didn't want to be friends with her anymore. She shouted at me, calling me names, but I just hung up. I'm not budging. All our friends are blowing up my phone, saying I'm being unfair and to give her back her ticket. She keeps trying to call me. Your friend was insensitive and hurtful with her comments about your body and your appearance. It's understandable that you reached your breaking point and decided to distance yourself from her. However, some people may argue that cutting off a friendship over this incident alone might be an overreaction, so it might be worth considering having a calm conversation with your friend about how her comments made you feel before making a final decision. Ultimately, it's up to you to decide what is best for your mental well-being. Am I the antagonist for telling my fiancé's sister I'm more important than her and I'm going nowhere? So I, 28-year-old female, am engaged to Jake, 27-year-old male. We have been together for 5 years, and I am currently pregnant with our second child, who is due any day now. I get along with Jake's family except for Jenny. Jenny dated Jake from the ages of 14 to 16, and she ended up moving in with them due to issues at home. She's also very close to Jake's sister. Jake told me that when they broke up, it caused problems, and he moved out at 17 to live with his uncle. Jenny saw this as them choosing her. When Jake and I got together, he was not in contact with his family. However, they started speaking again after we had our first child. Jenny had at that point claimed them as her own family, for as long as I've known her. She makes jokes about being the favorite and says that if any of the siblings or their partners make her angry, she'll have them kicked out of the family, like she did with Jake, which is not true. When we first met Jenny, she was extremely cold and rude to me. She kept making comments about how disappointed she was in Jake. Obviously, things have not gotten better. She has told me multiple times that I will never be part of their family and keeps insinuating that I am just a temporary fling who will disappear at any moment. My in-laws had a gathering tonight for dinner and drinks. Of course, with me being 2 days overdue, everyone was excited and giving me attention, which annoyed Jenny. At one point, I came out of the bathroom, and Jenny, who clearly had too much to drink, was waiting for me. She told me that no matter how many times I get pregnant, or even when I wear my white dress, she looked me up and down, though I shouldn't, she will always be more important. She believes that if Jake's family chose her over their own son, they will definitely choose her over some woman who got pregnant after dating a guy for 6 weeks, whom she referred to as a slut. I told her that actually I am more important, and I'm never going away because I am the mother of their grandchildren and I will have their last name, something that Jake and his parents have never given her. To them, she's only a charity case who needs to move on from her ex. There is a whole different story there, and she needs to seek therapy to work on her issues. Then I told her to sober up because she looks pathetic. She then broke down crying and everyone came to see what was going on. I told Jake that I wanted to go home. His family is on my side after hearing the whole story, but his sister is upset with me for what I told Jenny. She says it triggered her abandonment issues, which will put Jenny back into a dark place. Jenny has been consistently rude and disrespectful to you, and her comments about your relationship and future with Jake were completely uncalled for. You stood up for yourself and defended your position in the family, which is perfectly reasonable. It's unfortunate that Jenny has abandonment issues, but that doesn't justify her behavior or give her a free pass to treat you poorly. If she needs help, she should seek therapy rather than taking her frustrations out on you. The fact that Jake's family is on your side shows that they recognize Jenny's behavior as unacceptable. Overall, you were justified in standing up for yourself and asserting your importance in the family. Am I the antagonist? Tried to finish baby shower invite envelopes without husband. A baby shower for our first child is being organized by my mother-in-law, and my mother in December. Knowing that my mom isn't very skilled or helpful when it comes to crafts, I offered to assist with a few tasks so that the burden doesn't fall solely on my mother-in-law and sister-in-law. The party will be co-ed, so we have invited men as well. My husband agreed to help, and I asked him to gather all the addresses we would need. He compiled them and added them to the Word file necessary for printing the addresses on the envelopes. I designed the invitations digitally and had them printed. We wanted to mail them out early in the first week of October, this week. We discussed printing the envelopes last weekend, but we ended up being too busy. I informed my husband that I wanted to download a font that matches the invitations for the envelopes. He said that he would download it if I gave him the names. I texted him the names at 10 a.m. on Tuesday. He usually gets home from work around 2 p.m. When I arrived home at 6 p.m., I found him napping on the couch. I assumed he was tired, so I went upstairs to check if he had managed to work on the envelopes. Unfortunately, he hadn't. I wasn't upset or anything because it was evident that he was tired. However, I was eager to get the envelopes done, so I started proofreading and downloading the font. A few minutes later, he came upstairs in a furious state, telling me to get off the computer because he was going to take care of the envelopes. I calmly informed him that I had already begun editing and that it would only take me a moment to finish. He started yelling, claiming, "That was my task and you're taking it away from me." He can sometimes struggle with changes in plans, but he typically doesn't start off by yelling. I assured him that I wasn't angry and that I wasn't taking the task away from him. I explained that I saw he was tired and wanted to quickly finish the envelopes. However, he continued to insist that I had insulted him by taking this task away. I reiterated that I wasn't taking it away and reminded him that there were other tasks he could help with. I noted that he was becoming irrationally angry about this and suggested that he take some time to calm down. I asked if something else was bothering him or if he had a rough day because he doesn't usually act so agitated. It's worth mentioning that he has bipolar disorder, but his medication has been effective and he rarely has outbursts like this. He walked away but returned to demand that I get off his computer, threatening to cut the fucking power to the house. That's when I became furious, because my abusive older brother used to do that when I was a young child, to scare and control me when our parents were away. I warned him that if he cut the power, he would be packing his bags in the dark because I wouldn't tolerate this abusive tantrum. Honestly, if he had calmly expressed that he would like to finish the project, I would have complied. However, his confrontational and aggressive approach made me unwilling to give in, as I didn't want him to think it was an acceptable way to communicate with me. I apologize if that sounds condescending, but am I the asshole in this situation? It appears that you were just trying to help with the baby shower preparations and were being proactive in getting the envelopes done. Your husband's reaction was excessive, and his behavior towards you was inappropriate. It's understandable that you didn't want to give in to his abusive tantrum, as it's essential not to tolerate or enable such behavior. It would be helpful to communicate with him calmly and discuss the incident to prevent such episodes in the future, especially considering his history of bipolar disorder. Would I be the antagonist if I don't forgive my boyfriend after he insulted me multiple times? I'm an 18-year-old female and my boyfriend is 19 years old. We have been dating for almost a year now. I love him more than anything, and we had a great friendship before starting our relationship. However, he tends to start fights with me frequently when he is upset, taking his anger out on me. This behavior wasn't present in the beginning, so I don't understand what caused this change. We usually talk every day, and he is not just my lover but also my best friend. Recently, we had another fight and he wanted to break up with me. It took me a while to accept it, around 1 or 2 hours of crying. But as soon as I accepted it and started thanking him for our relationship and recognizing it as a valuable experience, he changed his mind and apologized, expressing regret and stating that he no longer wants to break up. I was a bit annoyed, but I loved him, so I forgave him. Honestly, this pattern has been going on for some time now. He often expresses the desire to break up, but when I handle it maturely, he changes his mind. I just don't understand what I've done wrong. I've tried my best to be a good partner and friend, meeting all his expectations. 2 days ago was the breaking point for me. That night, he wanted to watch a series together, but he was unsure if it contained any uncomfortable scenes. I looked it up and found out that it did. He got really upset about it and became distant. I thought it was just about the show, so I tried to console him. However, he told me he was going to sleep and shut me down. I was a bit sad, but I understood, so I said goodnight, and we exchanged, "I love US." The next day, I sent him a text before work, expressing my concern for him and asking him to open up to me. When I had a break, he still hadn't replied, so I asked him about it. He simply said he hadn't seen my messages and I got upset. I mentioned that he hadn't thought of messaging me the whole day, and he rudely told me to leave him the fuck alone. So I did. He messaged me that night, and foolishly, I thought this might lead somewhere positive. However, he just became angry with me again, telling me to shut up and expressing his hatred towards me and our relationship. He called me boring and said he wanted me out of his life. I responded with an okay. He messaged me again today, and once again I naively thought it might lead to a constructive conversation. But he's just venting to me now. Whenever I try to console him the way I always do, he becomes distant, and that's it. I know him well enough to predict that he will eventually start bombarding me with texts, apologizing and asking for forgiveness. I've reached my limit. I used to forgive every flaw because I loved him so deeply, and I still do, but I can't continue like this. He is not actually trying to break up with me, so I know he will come back to apologize. So would I be in the wrong if I didn't forgive him? I've been emotionally drained for the past 2 days because of this, and I've had enough. I want to believe that he can change, but I'm exhausted from always giving without receiving in return. It is clear that your boyfriend's behavior is emotionally abusive and unhealthy. It is not your responsibility to constantly forgive and tolerate mistreatment. You deserve to be in a relationship where you are respected and treated with kindness. It is important to prioritize your own well-being and consider ending the relationship if this pattern continues. Thanks for watching. When you subscribe, make sure to hit the bell to turn on notifications so you never miss a video. To finish listening to all the stories, check out the playlist in the description.